Ashley. It's so good to be here with you. Thank you for coming to the Love Lizzie podcast. Those who do not know the dearest, most brilliant Ashley Chang, she is a founder of an incredible company that we will have her tell you about, and just an overall really creative, incredible woman. And I've had the pleasure of following her journey as an entrepreneur, but also using her services. A big shout out to Sundays and Ashley for really making a lot of what Love Lizzie does possible. But even without that bias, I love Ashley and I love her brain and all the things she's been cooking up over at Sundays with her incredible team. Ashley, will you tell me a little bit about founding Sundays, how you got here, and what you're up to?
I am the founder of Sundays. It is an executive assistant service for working parents and founders. My background before this, I worked in the tech industry for a little bit over a decade. I was always like in technical product management roles, and I was trying to pull women in because there were so few women in those roles to begin with. And then as I started getting further in my career, I saw that so many of the smartest women I knew were dropping out or stepping back at the same time as they were having kids. Personally, my mom was a software engineer in the 80s. She was like managing a team of all men when she started having kids, and then felt like she really had to choose between family and work because there just wasn't support for doing both. And she ended up staying home with us, which I'm so grateful for. But I also feel like she missed out on a lot that she could have contributed outside of the home because she had to be so focused on us. And there's so many like generations of women who haven't had the opportunity to contribute outside of the home if they wanted to. Started thinking about like for myself, how can I make career and family happen? What could I do overall to help like all of these amazing women that I know can do amazing things just succeed overall? So I just talked to as many parents as I could. I reached out to every person I had worked with that I knew had kids. And it was really cool because there was kind of this snowball effect of when I started talking to parents about how they were balancing family and work, like how hard it is for them. And they really wanted to talk about that problem. So I got introductions to all of they'd be like, oh, I have a friend for you to talk to. I have another person for you to talk to. And it was really cool to see kind of that thread. There was still a lot of experimentation. I was the only EA for a long time, then slowly have built the team. But today we have 35 EAs who are almost all moms and caregivers, and they work with the clients that we support. And we do just family support for some clients, like summer camp planning, dentist appointments. I just had someone get me like an emergency dog groomer because my dog got skunked this week. We also help people on the work side, which is what we do with Love Lizzie. We work with a lot of early stage companies and then just support the founders or executives at those companies with holistic support and understanding that you are a whole human doing this job, and that takes a lot and you deserve support in all of the aspects of your life.
Talk to me about you as a human in that journey. What has changed for you? What has that been like? And who did you have to become in order to get it from there to here?
I think that I have always been like an executor. Like I'm like, I can do it and I will just work as hard as I can to make it happen. So I would say at the very beginning, it was before I had kids. I have a 1-year-old now. So this was like 3 years ago. I'm not sure I would have been different to balance it with having a kid. I was doing everything myself. And we were also experimenting. At first we were like, oh, we'll build an app and people will send like tasks through this app. And then we learned that like that wasn't a good experience on either side. Eventually we moved to this more relationship-based model where you really know the person who's working with you, and that lets them be really powerful and for your family and your business. At that time, I would wake up at like 6 a.m. and work until like the end of the day because I was doing everything. I was executing on these like tasks, but then I was also doing all of our marketing, every single sales call, figuring out like our accounting and our back end stuff. There was just like so much that goes into it. I don't remember how I've made that happen because it feels so crazy.
Yeah, because you like black out. It's like you're not even there, honestly.
At one point, I think I was working on it as if it was like so short term because I was really like sacrificing. One time I like gave myself, I think, an ulcer or like almost an ulcer from working so quickly and just being so stressed. I was also like getting married at the time. So I was like planning a wedding and doing this. And I was just like, I can do it all. And I set these like really arbitrary deadlines for myself. Like before the wedding, we need to hit this ARR and things like that. And so I was so stressed that like 3 weeks before the wedding, I was like waking up in the middle of the night with terrible like stomach pain. And it was just like totally what I was doing to myself and my body, just being like, you can't do that anymore. And so ironically, even though I run a business about helping people like get the support they need, I wasn't always like bought into having that support myself. That was really a sign to me that like I needed to figure out how to get like the right people in place that I could actually trust to do some of these things, and then train them and build like more systems around how the business could run that was not just me like maniacally working all for like 14 hours a day.
Well, but it also sets the precedent for you understanding your customer because that's really what busy parents and founders are doing. I mean, they're in it. I talk to founders every day and they are so bad at giving things up until they give it to the right person. And then you're like, oh shit, I didn't even know it could feel like this.
And then you're like, I never want to do it again. Like, don't give it back to me.
So now you have this team and you are helping all these people. Can you tell me a little bit about what you're noticing the relief really becomes when a Sunday person gets added to a team or a family? Like, what are you noticing the trends of what you're doing?
I think that we work with so many clients who they're really ambitious. They care a lot about what their impact is on the world. And then they also have a family or some form of family, depending on how they think about it. But they just like, they really want to like live their lives fully and achieve what they want. Having, I think, a person usually living where they're like on the edge all the time. They're like, I'm barely getting things done, but I'm keeping it all together and it's all me. You can't do that forever. It's too much. We say that we give people time back, but we also, I think, just give them like the relief and confidence to know that like they can get that time back, but they can still achieve what they want to. You're not giving things up in order to do that. Or they really are working with someone that they build a lot of trust with and they become like a partner for them along different phases of their life. So some people we've worked with them like while they worked at one company and then in between jobs and then at their new company, or maybe they decided to start a company and we got to be a part of that very early phase with them. In my dream world, and I think for quite a few clients, their Sunday's EA has become like their right hand person and they really have a dynamic partnership there.
I will actually vet that because last night I had a conversation at like, I don't know, 11 p.m. And I was talking about this issue we have on the Love Lizzie shop that we're launching. So I asked my Sundays EA to ask the people that were building the site with us to fix it. So I out loud to my partner was like, okay, well, in the morning, I'm just going to research this myself. And then I woke up this morning and my EA is on PST. So she's not supposed to be messaging me when I'm awake. And she wrote back and said, I think I can handle it. I think I'm going to research the workaround. And I was like, okay, well, this is what I was thinking I was going to do. And she goes, I literally had a dream of you telling me that last night. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? I've had people help me before that have like really I think some things that I've noticed that having support, trusting people has been really difficult for me. Like trusting them to be able to even understand what I feel like I understand in my heart. And I believe what I've noticed about you as a founder and what Sundays do is like you just keep pushing the edge of possibility. And when someone client comes to you or something is brought up, it's like there's no question that we're going to figure it out. It might be hard. It might take longer than we want, but we're not going to stop until we do. And I feel like when I got a Sundays EA, it was that collaboration that opened up a whole new world because I can Slack her, I can email her, I can text her. Like she's never saying like, quit doing that, you know? And I'm like, do you want me to put this in one place? And she's like, I got it. I'll figure it out. She doesn't make me do more work than I'm already doing. She relieves me from that work. But not only that, she's a yes and. And it's really sometimes hard as a founder to find yes and people in the beginning because you don't have a lot of money, right? You can't pay really, really competitive salaries. And also, if you're a parent and you're thinking about bringing someone on in your home or in your personal life, you can't imagine that someone would get it like you get it. Like, it's really hard to see that that's possible. Just this idea and perspective for women that you actually don't have to do it all yourself.
I think that for me, and I think for a lot of moms, you're working so hard in your career in the 10 or so years, and like you want to get to a certain place. And then you're like, okay, I think that like there's a certain timeline if we wanted to have a family. And so that timeline ended up just like coinciding with when Sundays was happening too. I just, first of all, wanted to like allow myself to want to have both and feel like it was a possibility. And I think I went into it having interviewed so many parents and hearing about how hard it was. So my expectations were set at like, this is going to be really, really hard, which I think is always good because like that is like, if things are harder than your expectations, then like it feels worse in the moment. Part of it wasn't so much of a decision as like I had wanted to have kids and have a career for so long. And then we kind of just like hit this point in time where I was like, okay, it's going to happen. And a piece of me was kind of like in denial. I think the whole time I was pregnant, I was like, it might not work. It might not actually happen. And so literally like the first picture of me with the baby is like, I look like I'm in shock because I'm like, oh my gosh, there's actually a baby here. Something that someone told me that I actually think is valuable is like, don't think about it too much. Like, don't plan for exactly what it's gonna be like because you don't know what it's gonna be like. And planning about it will like give you like unnecessary like anxiety and worry before you're actually in that place. There's so much that's been unexpected, both in what you actually have to do as a parent, like what it takes. I did so much research and I learned about like a lot of the pain points and like systems that could be built, but I had no idea about like the emotional side of what it actually means to be a mom. And there's so many components to that. I think I could never have understood people not working in order to be a mom. And now I totally understand it. I'm like, oh, I see why you make that choice. The emotional side has been like so new to me, but also it's been really helpful. I took a 2-month leave, which was really nice, and I was able to trust my team and step away, and then coming back was really hard. It's really hard, like, even though I love the work that I do, just, like, getting back into the rhythm of being a mom and being a founder and how much focus it takes is a lot. I think it took me until he just turned 1 last month. I would say, like, maybe 10 months. It took me until I felt like I was actually back in a rhythm of working in the way I felt, like, good and proud of, and feeling like I had the right balance of getting to see him. I tell my team all the time that it's just like chaos in the background, but I feel like I'm getting what I want from life right now, and that feels good. And I also have a lot of support from my partner and from my family and from Sundays. So that I think it like having those systems in the background have really helped me to get there too.
The expectations we put on ourselves, like, oh, yeah, if I can just do everything now and then it'll end up like this. But then when you get there and it's not like that, it's actually a worse feeling. I read a study a couple of months ago about how the hormonal system after birth for the woman actually doesn't return to homeostasis for like 4 years. Like, to just even hear you say, it took me 10 months to even just feel like I was walking in my own shoes. That's such a valuable perspective because we have kind of boxed women into these different personas as moms and created these like limited lanes where you're this or that, or you can be this or that. But like actually, in reality, all the moms that I work with and talk to are trying to do all of it. Like they really are. Even if they're a stay at home mom, they're still pursuing creativity or professionalism in some regard. They're doing something in the community to contribute because that's where the schedule matches. Women are hungry to use their brains no matter what scenario they're in. This idea of the out of the box mom and the out of a box woman that we've been talking about on the Love Lizzie podcast, a little bit of like the whole goal of this is to expose us to all these different vantage points, what it means to be a woman and a working woman and a mother, to kind of combat some of the narratives we've been forced into about what it should look like or feel like. When you are deploying all of these incredible women to help these other moms and parents and co-founders, what are you looking for in a Sundays EA? What kind of human are you looking for?
The best surprise of building Sundays is just like we get to work with the best people. We have a few people on our like operating team, but then we have 35 people who act as EAs for us, and they are almost all moms or and the others are caregivers in some capacity. We have an all women team right now, which I'm loving. It's really cool because I think when I started Sundays, I started it wanting to like solve the problem for myself or like these people who I had seen who really needed the support. But the longer that I built it, the more that I'm like, I'm actually building this for the team because I want to create more jobs for moms and caregivers who just like don't fit into the traditional workforce. The people on our team, they generally have like caregiving responsibilities that mean they can't go into an office. They probably can't work 9 to 5. They really value the opportunity of being remote. Everybody on our team is remote today. And then we look for people who are experienced EAs or have operations experience, usually in like a startup environment. We also really look for people who they have like extreme ownership over everything they do in a work capacity, really understanding like what your goals are and how they can solve them for you. I think women and moms operate is like the prime example of that. They also have really high empathy. So they really understand like this is a really hard moment for this person. What are they thinking about? Or like they have 3 kids and their client has 3 kids. They understand that person has to balance the dynamics of each of those kids and everything that they want, shuttling them around in a car for like 4 hours of the afternoon and things like that. And they also understand that wanting to balance family and work. And so I think that is like unique where if you had like a traditional EA in a work setting, you would be thinking about like how do they make you more efficient for work? And they only care about that. Whereas your Sundays EA is really thinking like, okay, you want to go to your son's baseball game and you have a big presentation tomorrow. So how do we make that work in your schedule and actually help you get there?
You've built the antithesis of what all of the major trade papers would tell you a company can't be anymore. Flexible and remote and operate efficiently with high empathy and consideration for humanity. There are some of these myths in the common culture that there is a certain way a business can succeed and this is what it has to look like. But I think it removes the feminine qualities that actually make up the whole ecosystem being whole. What is it as a leader and as a company that you're learning you need to build the plane a certain way to let it fly like this?
I think a lot of it has not been super intentional. It's been like just reflecting my own values as I'm building the company. We also have just hired really great people who have been able to like continue operating with similar values. And it's been really interesting because a lot of our team, I think especially having worked in like an EA capacity in a corporate environment, they haven't always been like respected or trusted, or they're like dealing with a lot of like past workplace trauma. I hope and I have heard very kind feedback that we've been like a healing place for some of those people. We try to operate with empathy for everybody on our team. So we understand that they are balancing all of these things in their lives, but they also want to do meaningful work at the same time. And so we try to design like roles and systems that support them in doing both of those things. I always try to like assume the best from everyone and make sure that I like understand if someone is really struggling, we'll try to like dig into like what is the problem. Maybe they don't wanna do the work, but most of the time they do, and there's just, like, something blocking them, so, like, can we figure out how to, like, set them up to be successful? And then I think by building the team, we've been able to really, like, bring in just, like, people who care about each other, and it's really cool. So we're remote all across the country. Through having this, like, remote team, I actually get to meet people who are all across the country. So we have, like, a person who is in, like, upstate Maine who I would have never met before or, like, built a house in Michigan. It's really, like, bringing together moms, but just like humans who have these like very diverse experiences, being able to, especially in like today's political climate, I think it's been really refreshing to be able to bring together people with all these different backgrounds around like caring about families and caring about just like supporting humans and each other. And that's been really positive. Another thing I try to do is like I try to be, like, calm in my reactions to things. I'm not, like, a super reactive person, and so I think that that has been helpful for me to, like, build confidence with people and build trust with them, just, like, really understand who they are and then help them do really good work, which everybody wants to.
You have these 35 women that are working for you, and they're being deployed across, like, how many families, how many companies, like, how what's your clientele?
We work with about 200 clients today. We do hourly packages with clients on a monthly basis. Slightly more than half of them are families, and then we work with business owners or and executives on the work side. But we really think about like how much time are we giving our clients back for what they care about.
Time is, like, the most valuable resource that we all have as a human in general, but definitely women, like, you get into all this responsibility, and you don't really have time to think about your time. Sundays is not just about, like, making it easier for you to achieve your dreams or the vision for your career or your professional life, but it's also reminding you how important your time is. You didn't necessarily wake up at a certain age and say, "I wanna be a leader and I wanna own a company."
I didn't want to own a company for a long time. My dad is an entrepreneur and he's always run companies. He makes medical devices, so they are like VC backed. You have to do a ton of fundraising. So I saw like a lot of the ups and downs through him. And then also my very first job out of college, I was the first employee at a startup that had just gone through Y Combinator. So they just did like fundraising. And I think that experience when I was like working as the right hand person to this founder really made me think I didn't wanna be a founder because it's like, it's so much responsibility. These people and their families are, like, counting on you to make this business work so that they can, like, support their families. For a long time, I didn't want that pressure. I got to this point in my career where I was in like the best possible job I could be in, I think, for like growing my career. But I just was like not motivated at all by what the next few years looked like. I was like, I could map out exactly what I'll be doing for the next like 2 or 3 years, like every product we need to build, how long that's going to take. And I just was not motivated by it at all. And so I was like, I want to go see if there's something I could do that could have a bigger impact. And that's kind of how I ended up leaving my secure corporate job to try to do this.
Now, did you leave when it was just you, or were you doing this on the side, or how did that come to be?
I left before deciding what I was going to work on, honestly, because I'm like 100% in person. I was trying to do it on the side for a little bit, but every day I would be like, oh, well, there's this like urgent work thing I need to do. And I couldn't get myself to do like a bad job at my job in order to work on this. So I was like, okay, I just need to leave. Because I thought if I'm really gonna try this, now is the time to do it. I had a really good relationship with my manager. I gave her like 3 months notice of when I was gonna leave. We are mostly bootstrapped, but we raised a really small friends and family round. And she was like the first check into our business, which was really cool.
Wait, wait, wait. She was the first check into Sundays?
Yeah.
If that is not like women being women, I don't know what is. Like, what support that is.
And she's still a good friend. It's really cool. And I would highly recommend this for anyone who's like looking for a new job. Before went to my last corporate role, I was only looking for managers. And I was like, I don't really care what the company does. I want it to be like high growth, but it doesn't matter exactly what field it's in. But I want a manager that I think I can learn from, that knows what they're doing and is hopefully a woman. And so I met her and I was just like, okay, I'm going to go work for her. She continues to inspire me a lot.
She's one of the first investors, which also says a lot about you. Here it turns out that she wanted to invest in your idea because that's how much she believed in you, which I think is just the power of femininity in the workplace. The world wants to tell us who to be, and then they make us feel like we can only succeed if we fit into that system. But the system they built doesn't really consider us at all. It does not consider that at 6 a.m., my baby's going to be crying and needing fed, and there might be an 8 a.m. all hands meeting, and I'm going to need to be on it, but there's no one to help me with this baby until 11 a.m. Or my salary doesn't actually afford me the money I would need in order to have the care I need to produce the results you want me to produce at your company. And so all these women are leaving the workforce in droves. I mean, especially since COVID, it's just been a total upheaval. There are flexible jobs out there. There are jobs and there are humans that are building companies and building scenarios for you that will actually consider everything you have going on. And don't let society lie to you and say that you have to literally like give up everything in order to have a job or give up everything in order to be a mom. Like there is a personal combination version of that. Know that you have choice. Like you have choice, so much more choice than we're convinced we have.
I think that's so true, Teresa. And I also think even within like myself, I feel like I don't need to be one or the other. I think a lot about like how my time is divided in the day. And I stop working at like 4:30, or we stop having childcare at 4:30. So that's when I stop working. I am my best mom when I'm like with the baby all day long. I think that being able to have that time where I'm doing like more focused brain work is really helpful for me. And then also having the relief of just like trying to relax. The transitions are hard, but relaxing and getting to like just be with the baby more on his schedule and pace is really helpful at the end of the day too. That's something that we all like get to define for ourselves, is like what does that balance or like integration look like of like what's right for you and how much time, and then hopefully you can design a world where you get close to the amount of time that you would want for those different things. But I feel like society tries to define the one size fits all solution, and it just really isn't that way, or it hasn't been that way for me.
And it changes. I've coached women from before they had kids to then being pregnant with their first to then postpartum. And they're all founders and they're in that the whole time. And it's changing all the time what they need. It's changing every 6 months what they need to act as if there's some sort of beautiful, structured plan and persona that's going to make you the best mom and the best worker or the best whatever is like, it's so stupid because every day is different. I love this concept of instead of it being like, I'm a good mom or a good employee or good founder or good at business or whatever, good enough, that question that we're always asking ourselves. It's like, how do I want to deploy my time? And I bet when you ask yourself that question, the answer comes pretty quick. Is that kind of what you noticed? Is like once you shifted to that, it was pretty clear?
Yes, it's clear, like, what are the things that feel most important to me, and then I think it's a lot of trial and error. It's like I have to live it a little bit and see, like, what feels good or what doesn't feel good, and then, like, adjust. So I think that part of that went into my 10 months of learning how to balance these 2 is you have to try it and then see, and also there are changing factors all the time, like, your family is changing, the business is changing, and so you're going to have to be, like, constantly adjusting those. But I think when you just really ask yourself, how do I wanna use my time? And also, like, how do I wanna use my time now? What are you doing this year? What are you doing this quarter? And how you can change what's most important or how you wanna spend your time over the course of that period.
The permission to change it. The permission to change it. It doesn't have to be perfected and then never change. Like we're changing all the time. And that's almost its own permission, I guess, like its own relief is that there's not a necessity for it to be perfect and never change because it's not even available to you.
I mean, I still think I am always like, "Let me try this is how my schedule will be forever. I figured it out." And then I'm like, "Oh, it's not working anymore." But I think that understanding that, like, if you want something that's working for you right now, and that's good.
Right now is good enough. One day at a time, for God's sakes. One of the things that I've really admired about the way you show up in the world, regardless of what your company is, your aura of celebration of women, supporting women, finding ways to bring women together. I mean, some of these dinners that you've done, and then you have the Times Square thing that happened. There's this photo of her with her team and your son and your mother in law. Talk about like generations of women. Then you have this team of women that you've been coaching and teaching and bringing along with you on this mission. And then you have your son in your hands. And I feel like it's really an imagery of what is possible, not just because you pursued what you wanted and you had an idea and you believed in yourself enough to follow it, but because you also asked for help. Like, there's no way you're fucking doing this without help. And that's the lie. It's like that women are supposed to just go out there and be able to do it all. And it's like, nobody's doing that. It's such BS. So tell me a little bit about like Ashley, the woman. What drives her? What gets you out of bed in the morning in these ways?
We are really standing on the shoulders of all of these women who come before us. But I think what gets me excited in the morning, I just love seeing women succeed and get the things that they want. And I think that I feel like I have come from a place where I have a lot of support and I have had the opportunity to follow some of these things that I wanted. I want to like bring everyone with me where we're going. And I am really excited to get to just like meet so many amazing women who are building things, businesses and families and communities in the world. And I love just like personally talking to them. Makes me so energized, like every time I talk to you, Teresa. And then also, I think just creating space and support systems for them. I post on LinkedIn a lot, and a lot of that is just like trying to put a voice behind how women and parents feel in the workforce. And hopefully, over time, that creates a little bit more systematic change.
I think it starts with the coalitions for sure. Unless there's a group precedent, sometimes we can't really make the change. But when you kind of gather everyone together, and I think that's what I loved about that photo is it just demonstrates what is required. Anyone telling you that you don't need help or it doesn't take a village is like out to lunch somewhere living in another dimension because literally without the grandmas and the aunts and the sisters and the EAs and these women that just have this ability to see the whole board, the connecting the dots, get it handled. There's something very, very powerful about that and being around people like that. One of the questions we ask everyone is if you could wave a magic wand and if you could give women one thing, either like a tool, a perspective, what would you give them? Like, what would you want them to have?
My dream is that women and parents can live in a world where ambition and family doesn't have to compete. There are so many pieces of building that for yourself. I think the first thing is just like the mentality that you deserve support and you don't have to do it alone. No one who is successful has done it alone. If you have people, lean on them, find your people if you haven't found them yet and they are out there. There are so many great people that like just by speaking what we're building into the world have wanted to connect with me and our team. And so I think that the understanding that you deserve support and that there's this like huge community of other women out there who are waiting to support you is what I would want everybody to walk away with.
you don't have to know what you're asking for. Because my next question for you was gonna be like, how do you help women ask for help? But it's almost like, I don't need to learn to ask for help. Just sharing about yourself.
Asking for help is something I have always struggled with. I think that just like making those connections, and even if you're not comfortable making an ask, you can support someone else in a very small way. And I think that that often for me has led me to realize like what I actually need myself. We started doing these like group intro calls for some of our clients, and it's been really cool to see them talk to each other and have ideas among themselves of like what's working for them, where they want to work with Sundays, or like just what's working in their own lives. So I think there's so much that comes from just this community and putting yourself out there to connect with other women.
Anyone who wants to opt out will opt out, but the people that need it are gonna opt in. And that's what makes it so easy because it's like you're clear, you know what your mission is, you know what you stand for, you know who you can help, you know the kind of people you want around you. The clarity is just kind of there in the conversation. If someone has something to offer you, they're going to know right away because you're just telling your story and you're just sharing about yourself and putting yourself out there. And I know that for me, asking for help is also very hard. I've even gotten like feedback from some of my partners like, if you would just ask for help, you would get like 10x growth or whatever. And I contemplate that and I'm like, okay, am I not asking for help enough? And I'm like, no, it's just that my natural state is just to like share and again, hope that if somebody has some idea that they feel confident or called enough to be like, what if you tried this? Like the other day, my cousin Karen, she's been helping me with Love Lizzie more like in the heart space, like conceptually. She's a mama of two. She's a full time career woman. It's been really beautiful to watch her in the last 10 years of getting these girls like to the finish line, if you will. And we were just talking about the dream that I have for Love Lizzie, which is very like parallel to what you're doing. And she came up with some idea and she was like, I don't know if I should tell you this because I was like thinking that I would just do it for you. But then, like, you actually have the background in it. So I'm just going to share it. And it was really like, it, Ashley, it took a barrier in my mind that I had put there, not knowing I put it there. And it literally blew it up. We think help might look like all this action and I have to give all myself to it. And if I'm going to be helpful, I have to show up somewhere. It's like, no, just being in community with each other. She unblocked me from a limiting belief by just sharing an idea that I didn't think would ever be for me. The mechanism of just releasing that barrier, I have no idea what's possible from here because of that one conversation. Just to like bring it back full circle, that's what my Sundays EA does for me. Like when I get on with her, she just will sometimes just be like, we can do that. Oh, yeah, it can get done by then. And even when we, like, can't do it, she'll be like, are you sure you don't want me to meet that deadline? Because we don't need to push it." And I'm like, "No, let's push it just for the sake of how we feel. Like, we don't need to move that fast. It'll feel better if we move a little slower." But just that idea of the person that's just unblocking the ways we restrict ourselves, which we all do. And so with that said, I love to hear some of the tools and tricks or ways that your EAs are supporting parents and busy founders, like, they could take from this conversation even if they never hire an EA? Like, what would you tell some of these people that are just, like, in the thick of it? How can we unblock their limiting belief?
There's a few like exercises that I like to do that are just like helping yourself reprioritize how you're spending your own time. One of them is called a time and energy audit. You're supposed to do it over 3 days, but I feel like no person actually has time for that. So what I usually say is like block yourself like 15 minutes and you just get a piece of paper or a doc on your computer and you write out like everything that's on your to-do list today, everything that's on your calendar today. And then if you can think of them, things that have popped up that weren't on your to-do list or your calendar, but took up time. And then you rank them in terms of importance. So it could be importance to your family or your work. And usually that's like on a 1 to 4 scale. And then also on how much energy it brings you. So does it light you up or is it really draining to you? And then you use that to kind of categorize which things that are both important and they light you up. Those are like your zone of genius. That's where you want to be spending all of your time. And then you also then get a sense for like which things are really draining for me and they're actually not that important. And those are things that you can just like drop. I think that for me has been really nice in terms of like, is this actually something that needs to happen? Because I get into the habit of doing things and then I'm like, oh, it's not actually important that I do that anymore. So just like rethinking about like where your time is going in that sense.
Talk to me about the emotion of committing to letting it go. Because that's a press. Do you think that's a muscle? Because I feel like that's a muscle. Like that anxiety that if I don't control this thing, it could blow up in my face. Tell me about how you approach that.
There's 2 things. There's one that is, like, delegating it or giving someone else ownership over it, which is, like, one emotional thing to process, and then there's also just, like, not doing it at all and being like, "Okay, I have limited time, like, this thing is actually just, like, not important, and, like, I'm just gonna, like, let it drop," even though it obviously had some reason you were doing it. So, like, you have to be like, out of all the things that are happening, like, I don't have enough time to do these things that are really important, so I need to, like, just let some things go, at least for right now. And I think that's just like really hard. I need to like write to think. And so having something that's like written down can be really helpful for me to say, okay, right now, these are like the 3 things I'm going to do for the next 3 months. And then I'm not going to worry about these things for right now. And if they are important, I promise you that the world will tell you they're important again and they will come back. Understanding that like that's just not a priority right now has been really valuable. And then I think the emotion of like this other like sector of things that are like important but like really drain your energy are like the top things that I think you can give to someone else. You might not have to pay for that person. It might be like you have a partner and like they don't mind doing it. Like I hate making the bed. Like it's like my least favorite. I don't know, something about like my fingers getting under the bed mattress. I just like hate. And so my my husband does that and he doesn't mind it and he likes having new sheets, so he does it all the time. I think that, like, figuring out with the people who are in your life which things, like, each person is responsible for is really helpful and, like, thinking about if it's something that you really dislike, like, who dislikes it more in some sense can also be good.
That's a really good one. You already have a team of people. Are you thinking of them that way? Like, that's something that's just, like, a basic thing. Like, you do that exercise, and then you're like, "Oh, I need help. I don't have any help." But it's like, but you already have a team of people. I heard something on a podcast yesterday where I think it was the We Can Do Hard Things podcast, and sister, Amanda, was talking about how she handles change with her kids because life is full of change no matter how old you are. And she was saying that, like, sometimes your marriage isn't what you thought it was gonna be, and you're struggling, and you're trying to figure it out, and your communication sucks or whatever, whatever, right? And she said that one day her son brought something up that she does to her husband. Like, he was like, "Mom, did you notice that, like, you're like this?" You know, the instinct that we've all been taught to kind of, like, hide the hard stuff from our kids, like, "Oh, no, it's fine. I just had a bad day." She just went, "You're right. I do that. I do that. I totally do that." And she said in this moment, it was this realization that, like, he's in the family too. Just because he's a kid doesn't mean he can't help the family. His perspective is unique, and his ability to communicate what he sees is the help all of us need, is just, like, calling things out. "What's going on? Are you okay?" You know? And so she was like, "The shame I felt that, like, my son could see how I was behaving, and, like, I had to get over all of that and just go to that place where I was like, 'Wait, this is a family. This is a team. We're all here together. How are we utilizing each other for our strengths, for where we're weak, for where we're blind to something, like we have a blind spot?'"
Just, like, leaning in more to the other people in your life, and I think that for, like, women, we tend to take on so much ourselves, and we probably are the best at doing a lot of the things, but, like, that doesn't mean that we have to be doing everything ourselves. Which things is it okay that, like, someone does a little bit differently than you, and how can you give them, like, real ownership over that thing so that you don't have to think about it anymore is, like, a huge relief. I made this, like, old school, like, fundraiser thermometer where we're tracking how we're tracking against our, like, overall annual goal this year. I think there's a lot of value in, like, pulling things you really wanna pay attention to out and, like, being really intentional about, like, we look at this every week, and the act of, like, taking it out of, like, this digital system and being like, "Okay, what does this number actually mean to us?" is, I think, really powerful and worth the time to do it.
I think also this idea that everyone's focused on the same mission, it clarifies the goal. It makes it very clear what we're here to do. We are here to give time back to these incredible humans who are working their butts off to live their lives and grow their humans. So when you get frustrated, when you get scared, when you get hesitant, just remind yourself, like, what is my goal today? Well, my goal is to give time back. And if I'm pursuing that, then I'm probably doing my best at my job. And that really lets the humans that are working for you just have some relief in what you expect of them.
It's been a big change. I used to just keep all the goals in my own head, or like I would have my own spreadsheet for them, but like I wouldn't actually share them with anyone else. And then that meant like all of the burden of reaching those goals was on me. And then as we grew the team, like we have a small, like 4-person leadership team. So then I was like sharing the goals with like the leadership team. And I was like, okay, we're on track to do this. But then this year, a huge breakthrough has been like actually sharing it with the whole team and giving the whole team updates really regularly on how we're doing. And the amazing result of that is that you get all of their ideas about how to reach your goal and all of their help in reaching those. And it's not all on you. Just opening up that line of communication has been like the returns on the like 5 minutes that I spend every week reminding them what our goals are and where we're tracking are just like exponential. Like I get so much back just for like sharing with them because they want to be a part of it and they want to understand where we're going and they want to feel like when I'm celebrating, I want them to be celebrating.
And it's a metaphor because we're talking about it in the business case, but it can be the same in the home, in your neighborhood, in your community. Like, if you pick a direction and you have value alignment and you have people that really understand where we're trying to go, it is so much easier to do it with a group of people than to do it yourself. And so you can take this same kind of perspective that Ashley's talking about. Parents, especially when they start to have more kids and the whole reality changes, and then the relationship, like the marriage itself, also is like changing. And it's so new and everything's new. It's like, have a weekly meeting for 10 minutes. Remind yourselves what you're here to do. Put the priorities on a whiteboard. It doesn't have to be super fancy. Like, just make them real big. Let the kids make it out of art, like whatever. And just remind the family, like, what are we doing here? And what are we trying to achieve as a family? And that doesn't mean that you have to be ambitious with your family. I just mean like quality time might be the goal for 90 days. Might just be simple, like, hey, wait. We're about to add this thing to our schedule. Does this equal quality time for our family? Does it actually equal quality time? Or is it just another thing we're doing in the performance world that we live in where we think we have to have our kids in 8 different things in order for them to be happy? It's like, well, wait a minute. If our goal is quality time, are we going to get quality time if we add this extracurricular activity? And I think what Sundays I also see is like meal prepping. Such a simple thing. And I feel like it's gotten such a bad reputation. It's like, no, just sitting down with someone and being like, what kind of food do we want to eat? Help me think about this. Help me think about what meals we want to have this week. Like, I'm not doing this on my own. I would love to hear what the themes are of the kind of time you're giving back. What are you noticing that your team is doing for people that they no longer have to do for themselves?
I think coming from a product like building tech tools to what we do now is like the needs of every family and every person are so diverse. Like they depend a lot on who you are and what's happening in your world and like what season of life and season of the year you're in. One of my favorite things that we help with have been just like this theme of like life maintenance things that are like things that you always have to be like tracking, but they don't bring anyone joy. It's like making your dentist appointments, making sure that your car oil got changed this year, making sure your insurance claims actually went through, like that type of thing where like you need that in your life. And when something goes wrong, it's a big issue. But if you just like have a system that makes it work, then you don't have to ever think about it. That's like one of my favorite areas that our team can like really fully take ownership over really quickly for the families that we work with. Those are the type of things that like moms always know in the back of their mind. Like, when was the last time Charlie went to the dentist? But like, nobody else probably knows. I think that's like those are real things that we can take off of like mom's brain. I think that our team we have like gotten really tight about like who are the different types of people we work with and what do they need done. We love, I think when we start working with someone in a business sense, we love taking on like, I mean, the email and calendar management, it sounds like that's what you think of an EA doing, but I think there's something really powerful about that starting there because it gives them a view into your day to day so that they can then understand like how is Teresa spending her time? Where is her time where is she losing time that she doesn't need to be spending? And then also, what are the things that they can start to take off their plate? So it's not necessarily one thing for any person, but it's starting to understand your time and how it's divided. And then also building that relationship with you where they can kind of do some of that sorting for you of like, oh, Teresa's talking about producing the podcast and it sounds like she's just really not excited about it. It's going to take her 12 hours and like she doesn't love it and someone else does love it. So let me do that or let me find someone else who can do it. So it's not necessarily one task, but it's like getting to understand you and where you are today and what your goals are. And then like, what are those things that we can give you more time to do that really bring you joy and energy?
That's so spot on of what you do because I remember I've been an EA in my 20s. I was an EA in a lot of different environments, and some of them were super easy and some of them were not. And I had never been trained. I was just like a smart girl who wanted experience and I wanted to learn the business that I was like working in. And so I was just like an all in kind of person, like, oh, sure, I'll help with that. Sure, I'll help with that. Cause I just wanted to really understand how the whole thing worked. And I remember when I first started my business, I was like, I need a Teresa, which is like a weird thing to say because it's not like I'm so self confident that I think I'm great, but it was just like the way I went about it, the way I was getting to know the person and really thinking about them. I didn't know if other people existed like that. And then I got Sundays and I was like, I could have had what? It's like basically they've created this proactive, positive attitude, thoughtful, considerate, but also human. I cannot stress that enough. I know we're moving to like a very technologically heavy world. And I think there's a lot of great things about technology that are going to change everything for everyone, especially women, right? And their access to more time and ability, shortcuts and systems that they can build. And all of those things are wonderful. But the loneliness of being a mom and the loneliness of being a founder, I think are somewhat similar feelings. I'm not a mom, but I'm a pretty involved aunt. And I know how much I love those children. And I know how much when I'm with them, I don't want to do anything else. Like, I don't want to be somewhere else. I don't want my mind to be thinking about what we need to eat and where we got to go tomorrow and that vacation and that flight that I didn't book. And I feel like with a Sunday's EA or just even finding the right kind of person to ask for help or to let help you rather, is that presence is what I get back. It's like I actually get to be present where I am because the support I'm getting is so thoughtful and so in sync, like synchronicity, that of course there's a ramp up time and of course there's a time of learning each other and all of that. But once you get going, I mean, the possibilities are endless. I just feel so grateful that you followed your idea. And for anyone listening that is starting a company who might be in the more beginning stages of where Ashley was a couple years ago, or like you're building team for the first time and you're like, oh shit, I gotta let these people do all the stuff for me. How am I gonna trust them? What's this gonna feel like? Is it all gonna blow up in my face? Like, just hear that there are so many people around that have been there, who have done that, that can give you shortcuts, that can break down your limiting beliefs, and that, like, no one's expecting you to do it alone. And whatever fear you're feeling of letting it go, but the feeling of having a team that you can depend on, whether you hire those people or whether they're the people in your community, life is just so much better. It's just so much better when you got other people to do it with. And so I just am so grateful to you, Ashley, for following your intuition about this. And I don't like that you had to work the way you had to work, but how are you taking care of yourself now? What's different now than those first 2 years? What are your non negotiables that you no longer say, I'm going to put that off? I'm going to put that break off, or I'm going to put that thing I need to do for myself off?
My day to day is like a lot more structured now, actually, having a kid in a way that forces me to create more time that is relaxed time. When I was working on my own, I could just keep working into the night or whatever. But now I I always stop at 4:30 because I need to go pick him up, and then he goes to bed, and I try to create intentional time when I don't go back onto my computer, and I just, like, hang out with my partner and or, like, I started reading a book again, which I haven't done in a while. I think for me, it's easy for me to pretend that I'm, like, creating time for myself when actually I'm just, like, trying to achieve like, I, like, put myself on this, like, achievement-oriented mindset in my personal life too. What I'm trying to do now is give myself time that isn't like that. It's just, like, time to just, like, be a vegetable on the couch or read a book or, like, watch a TV show. That has been really valuable to me in recharging. And the second one is making time to just like connect with friends. It was really hard for me to do that while starting the business, but also like when my son was really small, I just was like having such a hard time leaving in like any capacity for some reason. That's the hormones that last for 4 years. But now that I've been able to give myself a little bit more space to do that, I think just like the time to just talk to someone one on one over a coffee or a glass of wine or something like that is always like just recenters me as being a human and just making sure that I'm investing in friends. And like, I just saw one friend where she's like one of my best friends, and I haven't seen her in like 6 months, even though she lives like 7 minutes away. And I approached it like feeling really nervous because I was like, "Ah, I've just been such a bad friend. Like, I haven't been a good friend. I've been like working too much or hanging out with the baby too much. And like, I haven't been able to invest in this relationship, but it was so great, and I just was, like, kinda I was like, "I'm sorry, I haven't seen you in a while," and she has a lot going on in her own life too, so I think understanding that, like, those people like, just making the time for the people in your life that you care about, and it doesn't have to be every week or every month, but, like, they're there, and even if it's been a long time, you can reconnect with them in the same way because you know each other, and I think just, like, making time for that, like, personal connection that is not about work at all is really valuable.
You did all that. You had a baby, you had a company. I'm not saying that it was like just some sort of swing for the fences and everything works out perfect. No, you've worked your ass off and there's been compromise and sacrifice, but the business didn't blow up because you sat on the couch. You didn't lose everything that you own because you had a date with your friend. I think there's these stories that we tell ourselves that if I go do this and I don't stay focused, or if I do this for myself, then I have to give up this responsibility and it might not go well, and like all of that anxiety. And it's like, what's actually true is that Ashley has been scaling her company. She's done it by asking for help and allowing people to help her. And you also like, realize from those first 2 years that, yeah, you were able to do that for a period of time, but it wasn't going to be sustainable for you. And then you took action to create something different. And you didn't do it perfectly, but you just tried and you let those stories kind of go to the wayside and you said, yeah, it might feel like I don't have time for this, but at some point I don't have a choice.
I think also a big mindset shift. I'm not sure if this came from the baby or just from running a business for longer, but it's it's like such a long game that like you really need to set yourself up to be in it for the long haul, and that means caring for yourself and thinking about what that takes. I talked to one of our clients, she started a big company that is now, like, 12 years old, and she's not there anymore, but I was like, "How do you build something like that? How do you build something that endures for that long?" And she said, "The biggest thing is that you, like, don't burn out. You have to protect yourself from burning out because that is how you protect the company."
And that's true for your family. Like for any woman feeling like guilty for trying to do something for yourself or pursuing your creativity or taking that break or booking that class or booking that trip with your friends, I understand how hard it is to leave your baby at home. Like I can't imagine, you know, like you love this thing so much. It depends on you, but that baby also needs you to be you. Your mom was the same way. And you were saying, I feel like she had to make a choice that I don't want to have to be the choice for all the women. If they want to make that choice, if they say, yeah, I'm going to take a break from pursuing my own ideas and my professionalism or career or whatever, then great, more power to you. That's amazing. If they don't, that there's options there. And I think that optionality is the same for if you're wondering if you can make space for yourself or allow someone to help you or even invest in help. I think there's also this idea that it's a luxury or it could be irresponsible to like use the money to do things that you, the mom, should be doing, or right, like the should all over yourself. But actually, you're the one producing the resource. Just like it's about how do I want to spend my time, it's also about like how do I want to deploy these resources that I'm working so hard to earn to make my family and my life what I want it to be. And I just want to kind of wave a magic wand there for anyone listening. Like, if you have a little extra funds and you're trying to figure out if you should use them to help yourself, the answer is yes. It's actually really good to help yourself.
And there's no better investment than investing in yourself. We're living our life now and we only get one life. And so, like, I think that a lot of the stories that we hear are like we're building for something that's like some magical future that like we won't actually get to live. And so to me, it's really important to create presence and like happiness and enjoyment in this moment and like the life that we're living today. And so if investing in yourself gets you even a little bit more of that, it's always worth it.
That is like the best way to end this. I don't even have anything else to say. Like, it's a great way to go out, Ashley. Thank you so much for being here. Is there anything else you want women or our audience or our community to know that they just need to know right now?
Just know that you deserve help, know that you deserve happiness, and I'm sure Teresa will help guide you there.
All right. Thank you so much for being here. This podcast is produced by Love Lizzie. Our editor is Kayla Hill, and the music is by my very own sister, Julia Sabatine. If you like what you heard here, we would love for you to hit the subscribe button. See you next time.